Thank you so much. So who doesn't love chicken, right? Look at this spread. We got thighs, we got wings, we have drumsticks, and chicken breast.
哎呦，多晚。
Well, apparently, the reality is that many of us wouldn't actually be choosing this cut.
Chicken thigh and chicken drumsticks, it's super popular. But other parts like chicken breast, that's less popular in Asia. One thing that we forget, they come as a whole. You have to kill a whole chicken to get the chicken thigh and chicken drumstick.
And all the unpopular parts that don't get bought up, they join a massive graveyard of perfectly good, usable chicken parts.
It's around 7 to 15 tons.
Wait, every day?
Yeah.
That's about the weight of a bus.
And this is just for chickens from one supplier.
Now we thought that was shocking, but get this. Globally, we actually waste 1.3 billion tons of food a year. That's about 1/3 of all the food we grow for human consumption. A lot of it is perfectly edible food that shouldn't be wasted in the first place. And we're not just talking about the leftovers on our dinner plates. In industrialized parts of Asia, cities like Hong Kong, Mumbai, Jakarta, and Singapore, it has a lot to do with our choices, like whether to buy food that's nearing expiry.
So those that cannot make it go to the top shelf here. We used to throw like 100 tubs, so about 50 kilos of yogurt, but they're still good for consumption.
More than 50% of our food waste here actually happens at the consumer and retail and distribution stage. That is a staggering amount of food that could be perfectly edible, but just isn't perfect.
上面很红他就不买。
First up, why is so much food that's perfectly safe to eat being thrown away? And what can we do to fix this?
Normally this one we will take the range from between 38 to 41 cm.
Every day, these suppliers get tons of fresh produce that they've got to test for size, temperature, and sweetness.
If the sizes are uneven, the buyers over the other side will definitely not accept.
Surely it's a little extreme?
Consumers actually want the best when they pay. That trickles down to customers being more stringent in their requirements.
She's talking about these rows and rows of pristine produce on supermarket shelves that fit a certain beauty standard. To meet the expectations of retailers and consumers, farmers like Mr. Ho sometimes have to go to great lengths to ensure every fruit is as perfect as possible.
这颗你看那边有晒伤，上面很红他就不买。
To get perfectly colored mandarin oranges, Mr. Ho used to stick paper on each affected fruit, like this.
碰干在树上生长的时候，如果它特别有一面是常年被阳光直接照射，就会导致它的颜色很不均匀，有一面很黄，然后有一面很绿。那像这样子的碰干，它其实在分级的时候就会把它挑掉，因为大部分的消费者是不喜欢的。
It isn't just vegetables and fruits that get measured up to exacting standards.
So if you see the skin itself, some of it you can see some little cracks. Some people, they are not really accepting of such defects.
This is Nicholas. For some time now, he's been looking into how meat waste is generated by businesses in Singapore.
So normal ribeye steak is supposed to be a brighter red, but for this you can see that it's a bit darker. What happens is they couldn't sell it within that period of time that it came in, and they had to freeze it. But it doesn't affect anything to do with the quality.
So here's the thing. Most of this produce and meat is safe to eat. They're rejected because of cosmetic flaws. For many suppliers, it's easier to throw them out than to try to find buyers for them. But there's another reason why suppliers are throwing out crates of perfectly edible food into the trash. It's called buffering. To illustrate, Let's go back to our fowl problem. Singapore imports live chickens from farms around the region, and each day they're freshly slaughtered here in numbers that are determined by projected demand.
So every day I get in 100,000 chickens, but on that particular day, how many people really order? Nobody knows.
The thing is, buyers, like supermarkets, don't want to risk running out of chicken. So they contractually bind their suppliers to bring in an additional 10 to 20% of buffer stock, just in case. But what happens if that buffer isn't needed after all? The retailer isn't obligated to take this surplus of 10,000 or 20,000 chickens.
They try to sell it. If they can't, they store it. If they store it for too long, they throw it. Because the next day is going to come another 100,000, they can't clear it away as well. So it just keeps rolling on and on and on. Storage space is expensive as well. When the fresh chicken suppliers approached us to tell us that he had around 7 to 15 tons of wasted chickens to clear every day, I was just like, how much money are you guys throwing away every single day, right? What really shocked me was when I head down to the slaughterhouses, right, and I saw the whole process of the slaughtering. Then it hit me, right? It's not really just 7 to 15 tons of food being wasted, but 7 to 15 tons of lives that are being thrown away, right?
So it's 28. Today is like 23rd. Today is it 23rd?
25th.
Oh, 25th. Okay. We only have 3 days left, so we can't really sell this.
For suppliers like Artasco, who deal with processed foods, it's these best by and expiry date labels that can pose a problem in moving their goods.
Yeah. All the yogurts are inside.
Take the organic yogurts, for example.
For the online grocers, whatever they buy has to have a minimum shelf life of like 8 days.
Which means when there's a delay of just a few days in the shipment of yogurt, retailers won't accept the stock, even when the yogurt is still perfectly safe for consumption.
We used to throw away a lot. We used to throw like 100 tubs, so about 50 kilos of yogurt whenever we had issues with flight delays or damaged goods.
You can't really blame the supermarkets. They've tried to arrange items that are closer to the expiration date at the front of the display in order to clear them first. But many of us will simply reach for the items at the back with the longer shelf life just to play it safe.
And so all these guys get left behind.
Whenever there's wastage, I'll think, wow, what way can I save them? Would anyone want them if I were to give them away?
Hi Mel. Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
At half price, it's like we can actually afford more than the price itself. They're trying to use up food that would otherwise go to waste.
So as it turns out, there are consumers out there, like Melissa, who aren't so fussed about food that is nearing their expiry dates, or that come with little dents and dings. In fact, there are at least 20,000 of them in Singapore, going by this one app.
If let's say they have some defects, they will put it there, like this red cheddar slices.
Since 2016, TreeDots has been a platform for suppliers to sell their less than perfect goods directly to consumers.
So where we come in is a secondary channel for them to start selling items that they could not have found other channels to sell. Suppliers put up, consumers see whatever there is, and then they go about ordering as you would on an e-commerce platform.
In Hong Kong, a group of young people have gone even further to prove a point. They've opened actual physical stores that sell nothing but near-expiry goods. Their goal? To try to change Hong Kongers' mindsets with a bit of personal attention.
Most of them do not really know there are a difference between best before date and the use by date, and that contributes to the fact that they are not that willing to purchase item which is short dated.
Staff will explain to customers that the best before date is only a guide, and that even food products 3 months past the date are still safe to consume. The message seems to have worked. 4 years since their first store, The social enterprise now has 4 stores that are helping nearly 700 suppliers sell off their near-expiry goods to customers who are mainly younger, eco-conscious and white-collar workers. But what about all that other food that's been labelled ugly, not the right size, defective, or simply surplus? The food that nobody wants? Well, for one thing, that's not quite true.
只要你做的东西不是看到水果的原貌，所以你只是要它品质好的话，基本上你就可以使用格外品。
Remember orange farmer Mr. Ho? He sells his ugly oranges to this social enterprise to turn them into jam for sale.
所以其实像这样晒伤的碰干，其实就蛮适合我们做果酱的。它黄的那一面其实非常甜，然后绿的那一面就会有带点酸。
The jams are doing so well. They've won awards and are used by several F&B businesses. Also,
这几年也有跟蛮多大型企业，比如说像新展银行啊，像这样的大型企业来合作，跟我们直接采购加工品，或是透过我们像农友采购农产品或格外品。
Over in Singapore, social enterprise TreeDots has been seeking out food businesses that are more than willing to buy all that unwanted surplus chicken, meat and seafood. And at a real bargain price too.
Those kind of healthier stores, salad bars and stuff, right? All the gym people, they're more than happy to use fresh chicken breast. For slaughterhouses, they just don't see a point in devoting so much resources, right, to go hunt for this small segment.
They're now supplying over 1,300 businesses, and more recently, they've been reaching out directly to consumers too, those who don't mind a little imperfection in their food.
Okay, now we are going to Tampines.
We have some baby back ribs, meatballs, chicken.
Rachel and her neighbours buy groceries in bulk from TreeDots every week. They're one of 82 group buy communities that are shopping with the platform.
This week, popular was the crab because it's very fresh. It doesn't have any fishy smell.
TreeDots is also finding ways to channel the food to those who need it most by collaborating with the Food Bank and DBS to donate supplies to underprivileged families.
If TreeDots are unable to absorb such products because we are unable to find the demand for it, it will then flow down to Food Bank, where they will help to distribute these products for donations and send it directly to the beneficiary.
When we started a B2C arm, it was really to educate the community because the root cause comes from the demand as well, right? Supermarkets have to display the nicest out there. Chicken rice stores, when they hang the chickens, it looks nice. And then all these are just reinforced. And this becomes your standard perception of how food should look like. But in reality, it's not the case.
For instance, new TreeDots customers will ask questions like,
why my chicken look yellowish? Why got blood? Why are there feathers? Why my codfish got bone?
But all these complaints, they can actually be a good thing.
And they raise it in the group chats. So when we answer them, we see that as an opportunity to also educate like everyone else. There might be a ripple effect. They can tell their kids or their friends, these products are actually okay.
TreeDots is also getting more eyeballs on its products by working with supermarkets like Howmart. In the 2 years since TreeDots started, it's saved about 2,300 tons of food.
But it's really just a drop in the ocean.
Slowly but surely, folks are being won over.
Most people feel whatever they do will not have an adequate impact. But I think people need to rise above these misgivings that they have. Once they become a part of the solution, albeit a very small part of the solution, they begin to influence others and take others along with them.
The consumers would say, well, supermarkets offer only these kind of choices, and then the supermarket said, well, consumers are only after these particular selection. I think both have a responsibility to do.
All right, to summarize, here's what you can do to help reduce the amount of perfectly edible food that gets thrown away. 1. Help buy up items close to expiry. For example, if you're planning to eat your yogurt today, it's okay if it's expiring tomorrow. 2. Don't judge your vegetables, fruits, meats, seafood or cereals by their cover. check that they're still good to eat. Remove the slightly dented parts if you must, or even repurpose it into something else. 3. Buy and use a whole chicken or fish if you can, and not just the parts. Lastly, support players like Green Price or TreeDots that help to reduce food waste. It could go a long way in changing the industry for the better. In the next 2 episodes, we'll be taking you across Asia. We ask the questions. Why does so much food get lost in our supply chain even before making it to our dinner tables?
They stack all the fruits at the bottom of it, how damaged they might be.
And will bringing back farming into our cities actually make us appreciate our food better?
We want people to experience how hard it is growing their own food.